All right, live.
Party people!
And now introducing the mastermind that combines real estate investing and beer in an epic display of awesomeness. This is Hopportunity.
Yeah. That never gets old, by the way, ever.
I was trying to surprise you, but you heard I hit the button too early. Whatever. Guys, what's happening? Welcome to Hopportunity Investors. This is the July version. We are going over short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, call it what you will. It's going to be an awesome night. This is actually kind of part two in the short-term rental game. We had Carry On last month, and this month we've got Mr. Matt Fischer from Tesseract Rentals. Really excited about tonight. It's going to be awesome. My name's Alex Winfield. I am your local real estate agent and real estate investor and property manager, do all that kind of stuff. And Mr. Sean Bowen up there, one of the screens on here, is my co-host, and he is a wholesaler, money lender. I don't know. He does everything. Guys, Hopportunity Investors is a great group. We're glad you guys could join us. Normally we'd be meeting out at a brewery, but for now, with everything going on with COVID, we're meeting right here virtually. We're actually all in different locations around the globe. Sean's in Costa Rica. Ashley is in Guatemala. Vanessa's in Venice, right? And Matt is in downtown Norfolk. But you know, it is what it is.
Man, you didn't even give him a good spot.
Yeah, so guys, if you've never joined us before, Hopportunity Investors is all about real estate investing strategies, financing options, and the implementation of those right here and now regionally and wherever we can find deals. We bring in industry experts like Matt to come and talk to us about relevant subjects. And then we like to discuss those ideas over some cold, tasty, preferably craft beer. Yeah, you have enough time to get to the grocery store before you get home for your Zoom call. And guys, the last element to this group, which has been a little bit more difficult lately, but it's still taking place, is networking. This really kind of started with the idea of networking, and it's still kind of what drives this group. I think the fact that we're all here talking in this group beforehand, we were just discussing about different things going on in real estate. Guys, this business is about putting the right people around you. Success is about putting the right people around you. And, you know, that's what it's about here. So we've got education. Let's learn about real estate. Let's meet some people and let's drink some beer. So guys, let's raise our glasses for a quick toast. May your castle be secure and your cup overflowing. Cheers. So I'm going to let Mr. Sean Bowen kind of go through the logistics and everything going on, what's happening in the market, before we get to Mr. Matt and discuss our feature for tonight.
Awesome. A little bit better. Let me see. Okay, we're good. What's up, guys? Sean Bowen, Investment Group, wholesalingoutofthebox.com. Yeah, this has been a different world out here with the whole, virtual world, but we will soon hopefully get back to having these meetings live and enjoy meeting you guys in person. One thing that we're big in this group is making sure that the people that we bring to you are legit, real, and are doing the business, right? None of that pie in the sky idea stuff. So I'm really looking forward to Matt telling us what he's doing and showing us what he's doing. One, because it's local in our market. That's a huge, huge thing, right? If you're not finding the guys that are doing business in your market, why go anywhere else? Like, find those guys and work with them. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. So Matt, actually, Alex was talking about what's going on in our market. Guys, we are in an extremely hot market, right? And I don't care what side of the penny you're on, right? You can be on the realtor side, you can be on the wholesale side, you can be on the fix and flip side. Inventory's tight, right? Really tight. So there's deals going off the shelf. There's the back market where we're moving things left and right. It's just a really, really good market. But having your numbers right and being ready to make that pull and make it happen is you got to be there, right? You got to have all your ducks in a row, have your group of fun, have your lenders lined up, right? Like, let's be real, keep it real. Let's go. So, really busy market, guys. Really enjoying it. So if you're in the wholesaling industry, that's what we focus primarily on. As that's what I bring here to the group. And then we focus on buying holds, fix and flips, and then money lending. So if you're interested in that, reach out to us. We're at Hustle Real Estate. And then if you're at Full Circle Investment Group, you can hit us up personally or check us out at wholesalingoutofthebox.com. We'd love to meet you, work with you, do some deals. Okay. You are going to see on this screen right now is we have two other ladies in the background. This is Ashley and Vanessa. Ashley works with us over at Full Circle Investment Group, and Vanessa works with Alex. They are what makes all this happen, right? We can't do this. This is how this happens, right? So I want to say thank you first and foremost to them because they do a lot of this stuff in the background and make us look like we really know what we're doing, right? So thank you, ladies, for always being there and helping us. I really appreciate it. Otherwise, let's get to the meat and potatoes. And Alex, let's see what we got going on with Mr. Fischer.
Yeah, man. So I think I met Matt 2 years ago or something at a Civic League meeting. You know, that's where we go to hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
League meetings. So I was actually been pretty interested in the Airbnb stuff, obviously, for a little while. And I go to this meeting, and it's majority people that are, this is in Ocean View, Norfolk, right? And they're discussing bringing Airbnb to Hampton Roads. And so it's really interesting group, first of all. So, I mean, half the conversation is about they're afraid that they're going to bring prostitution back to Norfolk. And I'm like, what? How are you even talking about? But so, you know, I run into Matt and his partner, Brian, there. They seemed like they had their stuff going on. They actually sounded like they knew what they were talking about and brought up some really good points in the group. We kind of touched base then. We ran into each other a couple times with some other Airbnb stuff. Realized some other connections that were there and since have kind of, you know, been in conversation. And Matt and Brian at Tesseract have actually recently taken over my personal property, which I just spoke about a couple months ago when I was talking about kind of my portfolio. So my house that was the, you know, dreaded, like, you know, worst buy ever kind of thing is now, you know, morphed into this asset that is now making really good money as a short-term rental in Ocean View using Matt's company with Tesseract. And the reason why I used him was because I am busy as hell right now selling real estate, and that's where I make my money. And I want to keep making my money. So I wanted to find ways to have passive income. I did not want to run a side hustle trying to run an Airbnb business. And so when I heard that Matt was looking to maybe, you know, branch off from what they were doing and start doing some turnkey rentals for the short-term rental side of things, I was all about it. Heard what they had to say, saw the dynamic business model they had, and wanted to be a part of that. So got aligned with them, and I've been talking to Sean about Matt and Brian and Tesseract, and then Carrie comes on last month to talk about Airbnb, and she's like, we got to bring this guy on. He knows so much stuff about this. He's got all the numbers and and so she's like bringing you. I think she invited you to speak on Hopportunity last month. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, now we need a whole month with Matt. We need a whole show with Matt. So it's just kind of funny. It shows that you guys are in the mix. But also, you know, I personally will vouch for you, man. You guys have done a great job with my property, and I think you guys have an incredible business model. So without any further ado, Matt, man, please introduce yourself, your company, and your business partner, Brian, too, if you'd like. We'd love to hear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, first of all, everybody, thanks so much for having me on. It's good to, Alex and I have been chatting, as he said, for a while, and it was a huge honor. Back in COVID time has flown. I think it was April when Alex reached out to manage his property, and so we were honored to have that role and steward your asset for you. So I'll jump right into it. So a little bit about me. So background, actually, odd enough, is medical devices, startups. So worked in ed tech, real estate technology, artificial intelligence. Did not get into real estate until about 4 years ago, but came at it from a kind of a different side. So started EF Capital back in 2017 with the advisorship of a couple professors I had at Harvard Business School. We were trying to build a really lasting private equity group that could invest long run in technology and businesses that we thought would actually make a real impact in the world and do it in a profitable manner. So it was up till about a year ago, EF Capital's kind of core business was acquiring multifamily apartments, renovating, furnishing, and converting to short-term rentals. And so we had the dream all along to vertically integrate. So where we are today is we will acquire, we will renovate through our design build company, Elysian. We're using technology that we've developed over at ConstructTech. So typically ConstructTech will work in large, we'll scan 500,000 to 2 million square foot commercial real estate spaces, convert that to 3D Revit models, 2D AutoCAD. But we're really blending the technology from ConstructTech, the design build know-how from Elysian, and then the short-term rental management from Tesseract. That it was January actually of 2020 that we decided to pull those resources together to offer, as Alex described, a full turnkey offering for our clients who want to manage their Airbnbs in a more hands-off way. So we look at ourselves as a scaling factor for people like Alex who want to put their money to work and want to really leverage their time. And so we've invested pretty heavily in those different businesses. We manage about 100 units today with Tesseract. The majority are units that EF Capital owns, but we're growing our external managed portfolio by about 10, 15 units a month right now. So that's a little bit about my background. What I wanted to, when I was chatting with Alex and with Carrie, just about what's going on with the short-term rental market, I wanted to kind of give a behind-the-scenes look of how does EF Capital and Tesseract Rentals look at making a short-term rental acquisition, because I know that most of the folks on this call today are thinking in terms of, okay, they're assessing, do I want to buy this house or this multifamily apartment complex as a fix and flip or long hold, and do I want to manage it as a traditional rental? Or I've been hearing about short-term rentals and that you can make 2 to 3 extra money on it. What is that all about? So my goal today is to kind of illuminate how we look at it and hopefully uncover some of the pitfalls that we've had along the way to get you guys on the call a little bit ahead of the curve.
Nice.
Alex, any other things before I jump into it?
No, man, I think that's great. I think that's perfect. You just led yourself perfectly into your own presentation. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that would actually be very good logistical information that we could all use. So please.
Awesome. So just to make sure, screen's still showing up for you guys. STR Opportunity?
Not yet. There it is.
There we go. Yeah. So let me start with why this works, because I think there's in my opinion, a lot of misinformation. Let me make sure we're still good. We still live?
Yes, sir.
There you go. I think there's a lot of misinformation about, where does this whole arbitrage come from in the first place? So I look at it as I kind of come from an industrial engineering lens of, well, let's really look at this market. So if I look at Norfolk and Virginia Beach, the average hotel is generating hotel rooms. So this would be a single bedroom hotel is generating $2,400 a month on average. If I look at the average 2-bedroom apartment in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, this is a really gloppy number, right? Because it doesn't account for quality, is generating $1,200. And then as I look at national trends, Airbnb revenue is pretty much pegged. It's directly tied to hotel rates, which makes sense, right? It is an alternative to a hotel. And so when I think folks are looking at this at basic principles, why does this work? It works in regions where you can take a unit, whether it's an apartment or a house, that traditionally would rent at a lower rate and get that arbitrage where hotels are renting out for a higher amount. I'll go into the details of it's not just a one-to-one. You're not just going to double your revenue or double your profit. But that's kind of the model here. So one of the things that we've done in our own portfolio, if you look at the bar chart on the right here, I've got a range, right? When I look at hotel rooms in Hampton Roads, summer's a little bit higher, but they're charging $120 to $300 a night. I know from my own portfolio that as long as I charge more than $40 a night, that I'm breaking even on that given night, including all the additional cost burden. So I've got this room to play of between $40 to $200 a night that I can charge for that unit, where I'm able to make more money than I would as a traditional apartment.
Real quick, is that 100% occupancy when you're saying that?
That is if that is correct, at 100% occupancy. Okay. So on a night by night, I'll say where this comes into play is, whether it's our own assets or ones we manage, if we need to drop price for a competitive reason, for whatever, we know for every single one of our units, what can we play with. Don't really charge $40 a night, but that's, you can kind of see in the green area that's the arbitrage that you're working with. So one of the things I find pretty interesting, if I look nationally, this is kind of an eye chart here. Over on the far left, this is basically showing that short-term rentals in Norfolk and Virginia Beach, on average, are getting, this is the actual booked revenue, 24% more nightly revenue than hotel.
Wow.
Two interesting things here. One, that tells me that even though I'm sure as you guys look left and right, you guys see new Airbnbs popping up in this region all the time. But because that number, it is the highest in the nation currently in terms of the highest, being 24% higher than hotels.
Wow.
We get the highest arbitrage. To me, so that means that demand is still far ahead of supply of Airbnbs. This was as of the end of 2019. That's the positive, right? That if you enter now, there's this kind of golden opportunity to be reaping additional benefits compared to the national average for short-term rentals. The downside to that is that 24%, that will drop down, right? As supply adds to the market, we can expect some of these great times to slowly go away. But we know that, like if I pick the middle of this chart, Austin, Texas, New Orleans, Tampa, Florida, Airbnb still works great in those cities. But there's a really unique opportunity right now in Norfolk and Virginia Beach to add units, especially with the regulations that have come into play. I've seen new supply really stagnate, if not drop off, just because of the additional hurdles. So that's one of the things I hope to talk about is how to really manage that well. So there's a great opportunity for those of you guys who are looking to get into this, convert your existing stock, or to purchase something for Airbnb.
Nice.
So if I think about, we've hosted a little over 10,000 guests over the last couple of years, and we surveyed them pretty extensively to try to figure out why did they book Airbnb or why did they book VRBO. So a lot of these things of why customers book them, you guys know already. They want to try something different. 50% of our guests, it's their first time booking on Airbnb or VRBO, and that number has not changed over the last 3 years. Wow. So continues to be new customers. But what we find, if I were to highlight the top reason, it's really a value play. They're able to get a 2-bedroom apartment roughly for the price of one hotel room. So if you have dietary restrictions and you need to cook at home, or you just want to have more space to spread out and you've got kids, it's a better value. So instead of paying $400 at the oceanfront for a stay in the Hilton, you can pay $400 a night and get a 2-bedroom apartment in the summer. So it's a better value prop. The other one that we see is pet friendly. This is pretty, I would say, controversial in terms of when we're talking talking with new clients of like, hey, do we really need to make this pet friendly? We give all of our customers the option, but we've run a lot of A/B tests, and one of the biggest drivers is if you've got as people call them, a fur baby, you can't really stay in a hotel or most hotels, and so we really see a massive driver of being pet friendly. And also Ocean View, located where hotels are not. There has, the last 20, 30 years, not been great hotels or motels to stay in Ocean View. So if you can find a spot that people want to go and place a accommodation there, that's a great driver. Of course, there's some of the bad.
Hey,
right?
hey Matt, real quick, just because that's so relevant. You're saying there's no hotels in Ocean View, which is an insane thing.
I mean, there are, but
But there's not really. Do you see that
hotel or a hotel?
City trying to push that, or you think they're going to let Airbnb be the way that's accommodated?
I think without going too much into it, or being too much of a spokesperson for the city, I think the historical Ocean View motel is not doing great things for that area. And the city is not want for that. And so I think they want to have, but it's also at the same time very hard with coastal character design standards, with Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act for folks to develop over there. So I think there's this in between. Hotels eventually will come, but I think I don't know when. I think there's folks kind of circling and looking at land over there. But in the meantime, it gives this great opportunity to hop in and provide a product that's not. If I think about one of the biggest drivers, folks want to be on a less crowded beach. They're also booking us in Ocean View because they see Virginia Beach. It's a 30-minute drive. They can get to downtown Norfolk. They just want beach. And that's Virginia Beach gets booked up really quick. And so that's been one of the interesting drivers over in Ocean View.
Nice. Sorry to derail you there.
Oh, no worries. That was great question. So, of course, the bad, and we try to mitigate this all the time. And Alex, you'll probably remember from 2 years ago, we've never tried to minimize the fact of, neighbors' biggest pushback of Airbnbs is they don't want a party house. They don't want, illegal activity. And there are, nefarious actors who are using Airbnb, particularly Booking.com, to try to book a place to, hide out, to, there's less rigorous identity verification. And so it's historically been a decent place for those folks who want to be under the radar to book, or to book a party house. We've all been, I'm sure everybody on the line here has booked a party house before.
Yes.
We look at a lot
What site were you saying was the notorious one?
What was that?
What was the site that allows a little more?
Yeah, so worth mentioning for everybody who's in this game, Booking.com, in my opinion, has, for whatever, I don't know what about their user experience, their design or their lack of identity verification, the amount of fraud that we see through Booking.com is pretty outrageous. We still utilize them because 3 out of 10 are legit. And we have good systems on the back end to, on our own, flag those, bad actors. But it's that platform's a little bit of a mess right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I wouldn't, dissuade people from doing it. I think the main thing is Booking.com, when you first list there, I guess to get in the weeds real quick, the default is that they don't require the guest to put a credit card down, to upload their ID, to upload a phone number. And so you can, as a host, you can select all of those things as a requirement. So that's our default is, you've got to verify your credit card, driver's license, et cetera, and your phone number. And then we actually have additional technology layer on the back end that does identity verification separate from Booking.com.
Retinal scans.
As soon as I can do that through a Ring security camera, I will.
It's coming.
It's getting real. It's happening.
So, I think it's important to know why, if you're looking at different regions and like why, as a blanket statement, Airbnb doesn't work everywhere. So I think if you're looking at these good drivers, you have to think about your region to say, am I someplace that a hotel's not? Is there some driver of long-term accommodation? So the great thing about Norfolk, man, we've got EBMS, we've got CHKD, and so we see so many travel nurses and grad students and visiting professors come in that are booking these 30+ day stays. There's plenty of infrastructure projects, the military. So if you have these drivers where folks are looking for longer term accommodations, that's huge as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a big one I've seen a lot lately coming down the pipe.
Yeah. And I always think it's a game changer, right? Because if you look at hotel occupancy levels nationally, it's something like 55%. And one of the things that attracted us, I'm actually not from this region. One of the things that attracted us when we were looking nationally is the drivers, the like off-season and counter-cyclicality nature of this place is fantastic. You've got summer travel, you've got military, hospitals, universities, and it's an area that wants to grow. That our own portfolio, we stay about 85 to 90% occupied year round because of those reasons.
That's what I want all my investors out there to hear right there, man. That's not everywhere, and it's not everywhere where these vacation rentals have kind of been the thing. So it's
right.
People don't understand that, but I think that's an incredible factor that really puts, I don't know, it just gives a whole nother option that maybe wasn't there, some years ago. Now that there's Airbnb and there's these other driving factors like you're talking about, it makes something like Ocean View, like, why does this work? I think that's a great element in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on that note, for those folks who are self-managing their own short-term rentals today, my personal opinion is that to win long-term, you've got to be on all the major booking platforms, plus some creative ones. And so what I mean by that, I don't have this slide here, but if you're on Airbnb, HomeAway Network, which gets you on VRBO, Expedia, a bunch of others, Booking.com, plus you are looking at even getting creative with Zillow, with Facebook groups, you're going to be hitting 95% of the short-term rental bookings that are occurring in the U.S. today. The folks, and I'm sure some of you on the line have experienced this, if you're just Airbnb, you get to the beginning of COVID and Airbnb says, sorry, host, we're changing all of your cancellation policies, right? We saw that, I knew where they're going with it. We weren't that devastated because we were diversified across all these other platforms.
Awesome.
And so you've got to have your eggs in multiple baskets because, all these companies, they are two-sided platforms. They need hosts and they need customers. And, for the most part, they need customers more than they need hosts. And so to think that hosts are going to be the primary, like we're always going to be playing second fiddle, to the customer in this case who's booking. And so just get used to that and do your best to diversify across multiple platforms, or else you're going to be pretty frustrated.
That's an awesome little nugget right there. That's a good one.
And I'll tell you, here's the direct result of that. February 27th, started putting in COVID plans. We were already at that point, I think 60% of our stays at that point were 30+ day that were booked directly through our website or through other channels outside of Airbnb. We saw, middle of March, 80% of our Airbnb reservations got canceled, but we had proactively switched all of our marketing efforts. We totally ignored Airbnb for about 2-3 months. And we stayed 80-85% occupied through May, and then travel demand came back. We switched back where it needed to be. So I think to me that kind of proved out our thesis of staying diversified, and we were able to weather the storm pretty well.
That's awesome.
Well, not that I matter at all in this, but that was exactly why I decided to work with y'all, is because you guys have these other flows of business. It's not just the vacation renter, right? So, hey, not everybody can vacation all the time, but somebody's always going to be traveling. So right. You guys have done an incredible job with diversifying in that world, and really just understanding it and creating, ways to go after those other businesses. So I don't, I will say this kind of little quick sales pitch. I know we don't do sales pitches on Hopportunity, but if you guys are trying to do something turnkey with short-term rentals, the stuff that he's talking about is the stuff that they're implementing, the stuff they've tested. As you can tell, he's actually, put pen to paper. This isn't just going off the fly here. But if you guys are interested in using them for property management to manage your short-term rentals, please, give them a call. They're incredible. They do a great job, and they've got some dynamic things that really other people in the market don't have. So I do property management long-term. I don't want to mess with the short-term stuff. We do really good with long-term stuff, but I'll hand that off to them any day because I know they're doing a great job. So long story short, they do an incredible job at what they do for a lot of reasons. If you're interested, talk to them. We'll give you all their contact information at the end of this. Just let them know that you came from Hopportunity. I'd be curious to see if anybody of you guys follow up with them. And but regardless, man, killer information. I'll let you keep going, but just wanted to throw a little pitch in there. Tesseract Rentals. They have you guys. How long have y'all been even doing it, anyways?
3 years, a little over 3 years.
Well, no, but actually managing other people's properties.
Yeah, since January.
Yeah, and you guys are crushing it because you guys went up to scale. You guys had everything in place with your own business. So, I mean, it was a natural flow into helping other people with theirs. So, yeah, I mean, good. You guys are doing great. So I'll get out of the way again, but just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot for the plug, Alex. Thank you. So yeah, I'll keep rolling. I just want to spit some info to you guys. I think so. I'll make this slide quick. You guys will have access to all of it. Here's the high level. The industry, the short-term rental industry, in my opinion, is maturing. I'm expecting it to continue to follow. If you look in the 1900s of the hotel industry, of it going from mom and pops to the big chains that we know today. So far, short-term rentals have followed that path. As we survey our customers, there's kind of like this tagline that is an amalgamation of talking to a lot of them. What are they looking for? They're looking for the comforts of home with the consistency, quality, and service of a hotel. So as a company, that's really our driving kind of motto is we're continually to think about like, well, what does it mean to have the comforts of home? When we're renovating, when we're furnishing a unit, when we're prepping it for launch, what does that mean? And what does it mean to have the consistency, the quality, and the service of a hotel? If you think about it, it's actually a pretty crazy thing to go after because it requires a lot. But I think that's where if you look at the Domios, the Lyrics, the Saunders, the really big players in this space, a lot of them are kind of triangulating on this wording as well as they're seeing this from their guests. So you could look at it, I go on Airbnb forums all the time. I think hosts can you can take it to the angle of like, man, people, customers just want so much. And it's, Airbnb is supposed to be this unique thing where I can provide a kitsch experience. And yeah, that still exists. But as I said, 50% of our guests, it's their first time. And so they're like hotel converts. And so they don't want to be waiting outside, looking under a rock for a key. They don't want, the hot water to go out and wait a couple days for it. Their mindset is like, I'm at a hotel. Like if things should work, and if they don't work, it should be fixed like a minute ago. So I won't go into all the details here, but that's kind of our driving force. I think you can get away with, providing this level of service on 1, 2, 5 units on your own. As you start to scale, it becomes like a logistics business. And how do you provide a wowing experience over and over and over again? It's pretty difficult, but it's super fun. I think there's plenty of hosts who are doing this on their own, and I'm sure you guys are seeing this as well of like what folks are looking for.
Yeah, I think about it from just like a standpoint myself going to them. I mean, that's a spot on. That's awesome. I mean, it's exactly what I feel when I go to rent a place. Like you said, I want it done yesterday. If it's not working, why? That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. And so, I think folks who are assessing doing it for themselves, awesome. Right. I think know that you're going to have to do this on a small scale. I wish we had learned this day one. I think it's easy to get into the business thinking like, okay, as long as I provide accommodation somewhere where someone can't get it, that's the value, or like it's super kitchen cool. You'll find over time that like you will get that guest who's either a problem or just has like a very high standard, and you're going to have to build this eventually. So I wish we had done this from day one. We've kind of built it as we've gone along.
Matt, we had a question come in.
Yeah.
It says, does your company help assess potential properties, i.e. helping to look over a property before the acquisitions?
Yeah, we'll do that. Absolutely. So I would say we can engage full cycle because, we think about this as an investor. I think first and foremost. So we know how to look at stuff that way. So short answer is yes. The best time to engage us, we can do the first one with you. Like if you're looking at, as many of you are, a bunch of properties, we can kind of show you how we do it. On that first one, we'll do that for free. We'll kind of pull the curtain back and show you, which I'll show some of that to you during this case study. And then we really like to engage once folks are under contract and earnestly moving towards closing, and they know they're going to close. Because you guys know how this goes, right? You may assess 20 to get to 1, and then that one you may or may not close on.
Yep.
Absolutely.
A lot of leg work. And we're all busy.
Yeah. So we have the capability to do it. We've got investment professionals as well who work for EF Capital, and they're constantly churning every viable short-term rental in Hampton Roads. And so if you bring us one that we haven't seen and you're looking to close on it, like we may already have the analysis done and have
nice.
Passed on it, or it's just not a right fit. You know what I mean? Like it just may not be a good fit for us. So
cool.
I won't spend any time on this side. This is kind of just a translation of the previous slide of, okay, in order to deliver those requirements, there's a lot of stuff that you've got to do. And this list is increasing by the month or by the year as cities implement new regulatory requirements. So this is one that folks are probably pretty interested in. So here's my take. It's a little bit different. I think that regulation in this space is a good thing. I'll put it this way. It was coming. It was always coming. And I think, in my opinion, Hampton Road, Norfolk, Virginia Beach in particular, have done the best job that they can do, given that this was kind of thrust on them from the state. The state set up the framework, and you guys have to come up with ways to regulate it. And so I can say two things. One, the regulations are always changing. Two, I think both cities understand that this is here to stay, and they want to engage in a productive, call it partnership, but like they want to allow it to happen. They just want to. They're figuring it out while we're all figuring it out as well. So again, I don't want to go line by line here. I think the key thing to know is that Virginia Beach and Norfolk have very distinctly different requirements. It really hinges, in my opinion, the main difference is around parking and around in Norfolk as well. The biggest difference is that you cannot have an Airbnb in a building that is of more than 10 units today. That's considered a motel. And so the way that the regulations are written, if you've got a 20-unit apartment complex, you can't Airbnb even one of them.
How's that work for Portsmouth, Chesapeake, any of that stuff? You have any idea about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm happy to dive in if folks are looking into that. So we are starting to branch into Chesapeake. We're looking into Portsmouth right now, and so here's the short version: is they're less regulated, but it's coming. And so I'll talk through how to discover kind of like the main differences. But I'll put it this way: if you learn how to go after a property with the Norfolk hat on, right, and you meet those requirements, and if you're looking in Chesapeake or Portsmouth, but you kind of keep that like higher standard, I think those cities will eventually regulate up to the level that Norfolk is.
Okay,
perfect.
You really don't want to be in a spot. So as an investor, I think about this. I want to reduce uncertainty. Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't love cities yet that they have not at least put in a framework to say, here's how it's going to be regulated, or here's what we're thinking, because you guys may have heard like stroke of a pen risk. They don't care that you bought it already, right? The regulation will come, and it'll be what it is, and it could make it what you're doing illegal down the road, right? So I think, in my opinion, things are going to kind of tend towards the Norfolk mean, maybe a little bit. Maybe parking will get loosened up a little bit. but I would look at that as kind of here's the hurdle you got to jump in any city.
Okay, cool.
We do that I take that same hat even outside of Virginia. When we're looking at other places, I'm like,
even Norfolk and Virginia Beach, are they like close to caught up with the rest of the country, or is it kind of, are we way behind in Virginia?
I think Norfolk and Virginia Beach, if I look at every city in the country, are ahead in many ways. They've taken this. Many cities have taken the stance of like throw their hands up and saying we don't understand it, therefore it's illegal. Northern Virginia has almost de facto outlawed it. If you really dig into their regulations, Richmond is very close to that. Lexington, Virginia, etc. I think these two cities have done a really good job of making it actually achievable, but controlling it.
That's actually encouraging, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. It's probably because I'm like an optimist by nature, but I'm like, at least it's a known thing. And I hope like what I'm going to get into here in a couple minutes is like how to take that lens and actually assess a deal.
And Matt, man, you got time. Don't worry. This is all really good stuff. So
cool. So yeah, I want to do two things. One, I want to talk about like how to estimate the opportunity from a financial perspective and how to think about the regulatory side. Because I think there's a lot of folks get real bright eyes thinking they can double or triple profit. Some cases that works. The main thing to highlight here is that there's a lot of what folks usually get wrong is the short-term rental operating expenses. Your operating expenses are going to be far, far higher than your traditional rental, right? So like in a normal rental, your tenants are paying for most of the utilities. You also, in my opinion, don't have to maintain as high of a standard. A fridge breaks or a fridge isn't working that well, you can kind of duct tape and bubble gum that and do it over a couple of weeks. And here it's like a fridge isn't working, you've either got to replace it that day or repair it very quickly. And so those sort of things in one way keeps your building very, very at a high standard. You don't really have deferred maintenance issues when you go to sell it, but you are going to incur that cost.
It definitely costs more. Yeah, my short experience, it definitely costs more short term.
Yeah, totally. So a rule of thumb that I use when looking at a deal is that, okay, like let's say I'm looking at a property that's a short-term rental. I think the multifamily is going to generate $300,000 of revenue. Before going any further, I'm automatically assuming my net operating income is going to be about half of that. So $300,000 revenue, I'm going to make about $150K of NOI, and then I'm going to figure out, back of envelope what my debt service payment's going to be, and then I get down to what's my cash flow, cash on cash. But I find that there's cases that it's better than this, some cases that it's worse. But if you just want a quick and dirty kind of analysis, figure out your top line revenue, cut it in half, and that's what you're
saying. This is with utilities or without utilities?
That's with utilities. I'll say this is with utilities and a building with no deferred maintenance.
Okay.
So if you're thinking about
if everything's running 100%.
Correct. One of the biggest mistakes I think folks see, one of the biggest mistakes that folks do is they buy something that works fine for traditional rental. And they think that, great, I'm going to pull the lever of converting this to a short-term rental. I'm going to furnish it, and all's good. I have not, unless it's a recently built house or apartment complex, the standard that you have to hit in renovations is far higher, in my opinion, for short-term rentals. And so really one way or the other, you're going to have to renovate or make sure that your HVAC is replaced, things like that it's all tight. Once it's tight, this NOI factor comes into play.
No, I love it because everything you're saying tonight is like a direct reflection of what I'm doing with my property right now. I just replaced the AC. We just replaced the water heater.
Yep.
But
yeah, I wasn't talking about you.
Sure. No, but it's true. It's true though. I knew I should have done those things. I waited just because that's what I'm used to doing. But reality is your standard's higher, and you got to be able to operate 100% when the money's there and when your clientele is there at its highest peak. So it's been a learning curve for me, and I'm sure it will be for most people switching from long-term to short-term rental. So man, everything you're saying is been truth so far. So Please continue.
All right. So let's make this real. I'll take a deal that's under contract today. I think it just came off the market like July 24th. Some of you guys may have seen this, 964 Beaumont Street in Norfolk. So this is an Ocean View property. Actually, before I dive into it, is any of the leadership team here, should I not talk about this one for any reason?
Go get it.
Cool. All right. So I'll let the cat out of the bag. We looked at this and passed, and I will get to why we passed on. So this one's 8 units, 2 beds, 2 bath each, $599,000, 2 blocks from Ocean View, and it's got off-street parking. First blush, looks great. I've got properties like this that generate, $300,000 of revenue, top line. And so we looked at it. So let me kind of walk you through the EF Capital / Tesseract, how we did it. So the first thing I do is pull, like any deal, you're going to pull revenue comps. And so I use, if you guys are familiar with AirDNA, I think it's a pretty good service. We use a lot of AirDNA data, and then I also data scrape from every short-term rental in Hampton Roads. So we have our own database, and basically kind of mashing those two together and also looking at historical Tesseract operating performance. But kind of the main point here is you want to start with some real comps and what they're getting per year. So, we were looking at a range of, per unit, right? So this is per unit, 30,000 to 38,000. So call it 240 to like almost, a little over 300,000 a year if we're performing like these comps are. And I think the key thing here is to look at real comps. This is 2 blocks off the beach, right? So if I pull a comp that's on the beach and is a single family home that happened to be 2 bedrooms, it's not really a comp, right? Like there's a difference in somebody booking a apartment or a condo inside of a building versus a cottage on the beach. So we pull our data, key points, we use AirDNA, it's pretty good, and then we go through a ton of gymnastics with that to level it out. We're also looking at, I'll just throw out this little nugget. I know that 2-bedroom condos will rent on a multi-month basis to a travel nurse, to a contractor, for anywhere between $1,700 to $2,000 a month, all utilities included. And so on a month-by-month basis, I'm projecting out, you might be able to see it here. If I'm looking at like December is $1,748 as a short-term rental, February is $1,713, and I think I could get like $1,800 to $2,000. I'll probably rent that as a long-term rental because they also have less wear and tear, et cetera. But we look at I call it the hybrid model of a mix of short-term rental and multi-month. So pull your comps, be really good about those, be realistic. Talks a little bit about that hybrid model. In this case, our guesstimate is at about $1,700 per month if it was a furnished 30+ day stay. And then if I go through that, and I'm actually happy to turn over to you guys, I'll send you our spreadsheet. We used to do this. Revenue total, we thought about $280,000 a year at a conservative level if we were to operate it using our model. So I mentioned operating expenses are higher. They really, really are. And it's a couple things. So number one, if you have a hazard and liability insurance policy on your existing multifamily, and you're like, yeah, I'm insured fine. I've got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million of coverage. You most likely are not totally in the clear. The first thing that you should do is check with your insurance provider to make sure that you are covered for short-term rental. Some insurance providers have clauses that could give them an out. That's kind of part one. So that'll increase the cost a little bit. Part two is that, in my opinion, totally disregard Airbnb and VRBO's $1 million guarantee. I've seen some horror stories with that. Your best case scenario is that they pay out the $1 million and then you get a lifelong ban under that account from using Airbnb again. That sounds a little drastic. It's not a risk that I want to take as a business owner. And so we overinsure everything, both at the property level and then if umbrella coverage as well. So that's number one. You're going to have higher repair and maintenance expenses. There is more wear and tear. I'm rolling into the repair and maintenance cost like general consumables, linens, things like that. Your accounting costs are going to go up. It's more complicated, the revenue. You're also paying all utilities. Your lawn care is probably going to go up a little bit because you need a pretty pristine grounds. Extermination, you got to be on top of. So in this exact case, the way that we underwrote it is that our net operating income was actually on the higher percentage range. Remember, I said 50 to 60. We were looking at an NOI of about 172K. Seems pretty good still. Capital expenses. On average, we go more extreme on the properties that we own. We end up replacing all furnishings. That's down to, the fork and spoon to the sofa about every 2.5 years. And so you need to take that into account, as that's after net operating income, but your capital expenses will be higher. So in this case, right, we saw a profit before debt service of 130K. You guys are probably all familiar with different financing packages, but if we just kind of went with the standard 75% LTV, that's covering acquisition, renovations. We were planning about 170K of renovation, furnishing of 114K. That we're getting down to a cash on cash of 32%. So we said, that's great. I personally, everyone's threshold for what a cash on cash return that they're going for is going to be different.
I'll take 32% cash on cash return.
Yeah, and I think so. Here's a little nugget. I think if you're going to if your plan is to buy an asset to short-term rent it, if your cash on cash going into it is not in a mid scenario, right? You're not shooting the moon. This is just kind of performing like the market. If you're not getting a 20% cash on cash, don't touch it. Hurricane season, COVID, plenty of things. Hotels entering the region, right? If you're long hold, there's so many factors. Stroke of a pen risk of having to go from short-term rental to 30+ day, or the extreme case, go all the way to traditional. That's going to drop that expected return. So I don't like to touch anything that's not going to have a 20% cash on cash, but everyone's going to be a little bit different with their risk tolerance.
So real quick, you said about 200K you're going to put into this property right away, right?
Yep. And this is a property, I can't remember the details of this one exactly, but
I actually talked to you about this one, which is funny.
Yeah. I remember you asking. It's one of those, I think everyone has a different metric of whether you use dollars per square foot or, have a different metric. To get something from, I'll call it a decent ocean view property to short-term rental ready, we haven't, and we've got construction in-house, renovation in-house to get it, I'll call it future-proof it, right? So that better stock doesn't come on the market and wipe us out. We're spending on average, $30 to $50 a square foot on renovations.
Wow.
That's including.
That's probably more than most, I would say.
Yeah. Again, take that with a grain of salt. We're
in Hampton Roads, but you're looking at, I'm sure you're looking at models outside of Hampton Roads too. So
yeah, and we're super long hold, so I want my operating expenses to be pretty low. It's far easier to use bank debt up front, right, for higher renovations than kind of drip and drab it over a couple of years. I also look at if I'm in the summer charging $300 a night for a 2-bedroom apartment and it goes down because of something I could have repaired up front, that's a pretty costly downtime. So that's why we over renovate. Another little tidbit, this may not be news to most of you guys. Banks will only lend when they're underwriting and putting a value on a property. They're going to value it based on traditional yearly rental, unfurnished.
Matt, I did want to ask you about that tonight. So you guys have obviously shown success with short-term. Are they still not lending to you guys at this point, or they're still basing it on long-term?
They're basing it on long-term. I think there's only two routes, I'll call it from, and I hope I'm wrong on this. But I think, as I look at this industry maturing, it either A, turns into hotel financing, right? And you can look up what those norms are in terms of the loan to value, interest rates, et cetera. I think either banks look at these as hotels and lend to them accordingly, or they say, look, there is an implied or there's the intrinsic value of the real estate, right? And that intrinsic value of the real estate is not it operating, with this unique model, right? That is reliant upon either Tesseract or an individual, they're going to say, hey, if you sell the thing or if we have to take it over, we're not going to be able to operate it as an Airbnb. We're going to operate this thing as a traditional rental and sell it as that. So what we're seeing even today is that they'll give you a value for the real estate. And if you want to get additional lending on top of that, maybe they'll give you a business loan or like a cash flow loan, but it's not going to be a 20-year amortization period or a 4% interest rate. It's going to be a 5-year, 5-year AM, 5 or 6% interest rate.
Which is probably why you're doing a lot of your legwork up front too. It probably helps kind of motivate that.
It does.
So let's put the extra capital in to get started as opposed to
down the road
doing it while we go.
Exactly. So a little tidbit here again, because I'm pretty conservative. We won't get into a deal unless, like, let's say that see this total cost of $881. I need I need to know that that's going to appraise for $881 as a traditional rental. And also I'm going to do a complete financial underwriting that I'm going to spend $881. And my low scenario for EF Capital is that it operates as a yearly unfurnished rental, that I have to spend all that money on furnishings and then pull them out, and that I still get something like a 5-6% cash on cash, so that I'm protecting my downside in case, again, regulations change drastically, or we just competition enters through hotels or more mature businesses. So every deal we go into, we need to know that it works as a traditional rental, even though we're renovating and furnishing it.
That's awesome information, man, because a lot of people want to get in this game and the numbers look really good on the top side.
Yep.
What you're saying, and you have every reason to believe that this one path works, but at the same time, you're still going in there. You're still running this as a traditional rental property and making sure it works like that. So if anything goes haywire, you still have a product that doesn't become an expense. It stays an asset.
Exactly. It's kind of like I'm going to butcher it, right? Like Warren Buffett method. It's like, just don't lose money.
That's pretty simple.
Hey guys, quick update. We're at 9:00. We want to try to get everybody to get some Q&A too.
Yeah.
So just kind of keeping everybody on track all the time.
Yeah. I could pause there and go to Q&A. Or do you guys want the cat out of the bag of why we didn't do this one?
No, let's talk about why I didn't.
Yeah. So cash on cash was great. The problem was both parking, and I won't belabor this, but key things, parking. You need to know that you own the actual parking lot itself. I see plenty of deals in Ocean View and other places that they have a parking lot, but there's a city encroachment on it already, or there's they don't actually own it at all. Make sure you own the parking lot and that you have sufficiently sized parking spaces and a sufficient number. So this one, again, to kind of let the cat out of the bag, it needed 10 parking spaces. You guys will have the slides to see how we got to that. They needed to be 9 by 21 according to the city. We can only fit 8. So that, we could have done a parking agreement. Kind of a cool hack is if you have a neighbor who's willing to sign a doc that says you can a document that says you can rent a parking space from them. As long as they're within 500 feet, the city will recognize that as an added parking space to your property. The city is not counting on street. So street parking does not count. It has to be on a off-street parking lot that you own or have a parking agreement.
Future business.
That was reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that in Norfolk, you cannot have a short-term rental in an APZ zone. This is the, I'm going to butcher it, but essentially the crash zone for the military base. This one was in an APZ2 zone. And so that will never change. I don't think that will ever change, that regulation will ever go away. And so this is the final, killer of this. So we could have made parking work. We could buy, some of these deals are so good that you can buy, a property next to it, knock it down, build a parking lot. Not if it's an APZ zone.
Interesting.
Awesome, man. That's great information.
So we kind of go through that same thing of you can do it 2 ways, right? scrape all listings and look for one, throw out the ones that are in an APZ zone. If you want your life to be a little bit easier, also make sure that they've got sufficient parking. There are different parking zones depending on your character district. In Norfolk, Virginia Beach is a little bit more simple. It's just one parking space per bedroom in Virginia Beach. Norfolk has, anywhere from 0.5 to 1.2.
Does Virginia Beach have the APZ zone?
That is a good question. I have not.
They have more crash zones than
They do have APZ zones. I'm not sure what
how close you are to the base, and it also depends on when you get out towards like Pungo area and you get out towards that airfield out there off of I forgot the name of that airfield, but that does have those issues and requirements, because we've looked at buying land out there to develop, and because you can't, because of the crash zones, and you get
they're pretty tight on letting you do stuff.
It's tight, man. I'm telling you, all that stuff around Oceana, like all that stuff down there off of what's that, Old Virginia Beach Boulevard?
Yep.
I mean, you're lucky to get in there and get past the development of 1, 2 maybe, and that's majority multifamily, right? So like, they won't. It's a density thing. They won't let you build it. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good nugget.
Businesses either.
Attention to.
Yeah.
So quick numbers overall was the main killer here was parking and APZ.
Parking and APZ. And I'll be honest, most of the ones we walk away from are parking issue.
Really?
Very, very few. Like, I think I've got a list of every viable property in Ocean View. And there's not a ton from parking.
Hey, Matt, have you seen the city be flexible at all with, say there's not parking spaces there, but you have land for parking? Are they allowing people to create parking space on their own property, or are they saying, hey, we can't do it, there's not enough runoff, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they are. So the main things you're going to run into is Chesapeake Bay type of issues, right? They'll let you pave, but it's got to be, you're basically bringing in city zoning planning into a discussion to say, are you putting non-permeable surfaces? What's the area of it? Do you have to plant tree? That's a whole discussion at that point, but it's actually a pretty quick call. So if you're looking at a property and it's questionable, like, I don't have enough parking, but I think I've got room to add it on the property, I would encourage you guys to reach out to the city of Norfolk and zoning. They're very responsive, especially now. It's just good to know up front.
So you would say, call them before you go and try to get creative and then show them.
Right. Yeah. So I would go, I would just do we just do it real quick, right? Like Google Maps, show, here's my parking. I think I've got 21 feet for my 3. I need another parking space. Can I put that on the right side of the house? Can I, do X, Y, Z? Have a couple options, and they'll be able to tell you even the feasibility. Like that, I've been very, very, very happy, like, with working with the city of Norfolk. They're pretty collaborative, at least on this stuff.
Okay.
Nice. Matt, how many more slides do you have that we can either try to get through or figure out some Q&A?
So that's it. I had some info on Tesseract, but I think I'll let kind of like the talk speak for itself. Like we're in this world every single day, and our goal is to become the absolute best operator of short-term rentals that we can be nationally. And so, and we're end to end, as Alex said. If we do everything from assessing properties all the way through managing in every step. We have our own construction company. We have our own real estate tech company. So we're able to either consult or do the work ourselves, as little or as much as you want.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. I think from somebody like myself, that I'm a very data-driven person. Everybody about or knows me is like nerd on data. You definitely piqued my interest there. So like I'm looking forward to talking with you some more after.
I saw you nerding out over there. You're like,
oh my God! Like, you see me tuck in like this and get like this. I'm all like,
yeah.
I love it, man. I love all the sheets and the data and the oh my God, I just love that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to talking to more about that. So let's open it up. Let's anybody that's watching, it seems like we've got 18 viewers watching us. If you guys want, we're going to go down on the questions that you guys have posted. Ladies can pull from some different spots. Maybe they're not posting here. But one of the ones that came up here, Matt, was, do you keep the cleaning and maintenance companies? on retainer?
Yeah, so we so within Tesseract we've got cleaning, maintenance, extermination, landscaping, all in house.
Okay, cool. The next one we had was what drove the Infinity Stone?
Yeah, Tesseract. So okay, so my business partner and I are nerds. We actually picked it because it's we like math, and so it's a 4-dimensional shape, right? A Tesseract.
Math.
4-dimensional cube or 4-dimensional square, and then it also happens to be a Marvel.
Nice. Yeah. See,
Is that outside of Marvel? That's something outside of Marvel, or is that?
It is. Yeah, I'll send you an animation of it. It's like a cube that is morphing in itself. And so we're like, oh, if it's future, we all live in boxes, right?
Yep.
And we're like, we want to get outside the box or a box that's more.
That's cool.
I just like the shape.
That's a really cool. I like it. So yeah, guys, if you're on here, please keep the questions coming. We're gonna probably shut this down here in the next like 10 minutes.
All right, I got one for you, man. So this is just to me because so you're not from Hampton Roads, right?
I grew up in Northern Virginia and spent most of my time before this in Delaware and Boston.
What about Brian? Is he from here?
From outside of DC as well.
So I just think this is funny. So I was talking to you when we were kind of leading up to this presentation. You know, you're at Harvard Business School. You're talking to your business professors. You bring them this business plan, and you guys, you know, you've got some really smart people around you, and somehow you end up in Ocean View, Norfolk. Yeah. And I say that jokingly because my family, when I moved out to Ocean View, like when I first got married, they were like, "What are you doing moving to Ocean View? That's not safe over there. You can't, you know." So it's always funny to me. Like people from Virginia Beach have this look at Ocean View of like this bad thing. And to me, I've always seen it as this kind of opportunity. And I think that's honestly what kind of brought us together in the first place. Was like, man, you know, I think me and Brian were like, man, we just both see that there's so much opportunity out here. Let's try to do things to increase that. So to me, the question is, how did you guys end up on, hey, we're gonna work in Ocean View, Norfolk?
Yeah, you know, the truest answer probably it shifts over time of like what that narrative is. But so without getting into too much of like the long-term goals, we knew at the time that we wanted to go into the short-term rental game, we were looking for, and researching the space, we were looking for nationally actually for a region that counteracted the whole 55% occupancy in hotels. This was a risky enough space that we're like, look, if we're just going to do that, it's not safe enough. And so we were looking for military, specifically some countercyclical drivers. And so there's a bunch of them, but Hampton Roads came into play specifically for the reason I said before. You know, massive military, hospitals, universities. I'll call it lovingly, you know, like a second or third tier vacation town that folks would either drop into that in recessionary times or grow into it during a boom cycle, but that it would theoretically, like cap rates here have never been that exciting, but they've been relatively stable. And so we were trying a different model. We knew we wanted to do it at scale, so we should pick a place that has kind of that bottom end secured. We looked at places like, you know, comparables would be Jacksonville, Florida, has a lot of similar drivers. I did not want to be in a hot city for it, like a Nashville or in San Francisco, et cetera.
Competing with a bunch of other people trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Very, very data driven. That's awesome.
And then also, you know, I can't get away from the fact of like my business partner and I want to build cool things. And when we started driving Ocean View, we're like, it just surprised us because we weren't from here, and we're like, wait, this could be super cool. It is super cool and could be incredible. And we early on described it like, man, the vibe could be like San Diego meets Richmond. It's kind of got a hipstery vibe, or could. This is pretty cool. And where else can you have an opportunity to like, you know, engage in making something pretty neat from not the ground up, but like engaging in that way?
Pretty close sometimes.
I was gonna say, I would think it's pretty grassroots, man. I don't think you can argue that. I mean, you took an existing model, but then just, I don't know, you want to call it 10x'd it. Like you definitely stepped it up, it looks like. But again, from a data-driven standpoint, and the numbers don't lie. You know what I mean? If anything, they're true indicators about what's coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. All right, so another question over here was, is it 2 parking spots per Airbnb? And I don't know if that question is detailed. Derek, what city are you talking about, I guess? That might be an open-ended question. And then this person asked,
Virginia Beach and Norfolk.
Yeah, so on those two, so it's at least in every city in Hampton Roads, it's triangulating around bedrooms, not unit.
Okay.
So it varies anywhere from 0.5 spaces per bedroom in Norfolk up to 1.2, and Virginia Beach is just a straight 1 parking space per bedroom.
Got it. So hopefully that helps you, Derek. This one's kind of out of the blue. And this one, somebody wrote, do you have properties in similar markets like Charleston, South Carolina?
Charleston. So yeah, we're just Hampton Roads right now.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I don't think we have anything. I don't see anybody else posted anything. I want to say thank you so much. This was the first time I got to hear from you and watch and learn and listen. And I'm stoked, man. Like, again, nerd stuff on the numbers and all that kind of shit. I love it.
Thanks, Sean.
The sheets and all that kind of stuff, because I'm a big person of that component. So I really enjoyed it. It was an awesome presentation. Just for the fact that you're working with Alex and coming to this group, I really appreciate you taking the time to come to this audience and tell them what you got, and hopefully now for sure let people know what's a great way to reach you and what's the best way somebody get a hold of you to talk some business.
Yeah. So guys, thanks so much for having me. It's I love this stuff, and so thanks for forum to kind of share some info. Best way to get in touch with us is if you go to tesseractrentals.com. There's a spot there. Like if you're interested in having your property managed by us, you'll be able to fill out a form there. Again, love data, right? And so we have folks get in touch and say, hey, would you be interested in managing my property? I'm like, hey, if you could give me address, number of bedroom, like what are you trying to do? We have a lot of that information on our website. If you do that, here's the promise, right? Fill that out. We'll do a pre-analysis ahead of time before we hop on a call, and we'll just go bing, bing, bing. We'll try to give you as much of like a binary decision. Like, is this something that's doable, or is it like, yeah, this is going to be a ton of headache? Tesseract easiest way to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Alex, anything from you?
Yeah. I think the one thing I did want to ask leading out, moving forward, people are still not completely on the whole Airbnb short-term rental thing just because they don't know it. What do you see as the future of that? And even in the times that we're in right now with all this craziness, but what do you see moving forward? Do you see your model progressing and stepping up against hotels, or is this just a fad? Like, what do you kind of feel?
Great question. I think housing, I'm thinking beyond short-term rentals. So I think flexible housing is going to be the name of the game. If our own driving, I would say our own strategy internally in terms of the tech that we build, our operations and capability I want to be, and we're not this today, I want to be a place where you can book a day to multiple years with the same level of ease. And oh, by the way, I want you to be able to book a day and then extend it as seamlessly as possible because your situation is variable, right? Like you might be moving to an area, you're renovating your house. How long does that take? Who knows? But I want to be a place that's just so seamless. I think that is I'm probably getting too much into our own strategy. I think that is kind of what's exciting in the next gen. I think hotels are, short-term rentals are here to stay. I think it is a growing portion of the hotel market. If I look at just like hotel units, it's increasing year by year in terms of the market share. Hotels, I think, have an option. They've got to go experiential, right? If I'm staying in a hotel in downtown Norfolk and it feels like I'm in Tokyo or Boston, I can't tell a difference in the hotel room. I don't know how much longer those are going to be around. And there's got to be a good reason. Like I need to feel special in a hotel. I think that'll be here forever. And then I think there'll be a crossover. Like I think short-term rentals will start looking like hotels, and hotels looking like short-term rentals. And we're just talking about the future of flexible housing and accommodation.
Nice. I like it. Flexible housing and accommodation. Yeah, man, we thank you so much for coming on. And for anybody listening, I hope you guys are taking this stuff down because, I'd say, honestly, Matt and Brian have been pretty MIA, like kind of in the shadow. They were like shadow warriors, like out there crushing it behind the scenes. That's the only reason I didn't ask you guys to come on sooner, because I was like, I don't want to expose you guys into the light. Hey, don't want to mess anything up. So all this information, man, this is great. This is incredible information. You guys obviously are doing your homework, doing your research, offering stuff that, I don't think we're finding anywhere else in our market, at least. So we really appreciate you coming here, sharing that. And thanks so much for coming on.
No problem. Do you mind if I answer that regulation question real quick?
What do you got?
Yeah. So if your city's not regulated and does become regulated while renting, what should we do? Whether that was the case or not, I think, man, two things. If you've got an Airbnb or short-term rental, engage with your city. It's just a matter of time that you're going to get a violation if they've regulated it, and it's so much better to get ahead of that. I found at least, I would not hide. I would engage with zoning and planning to try to work something out. Let's say if it's not even viable for your property, try to figure something, because it is kind of a matter of time. They're getting pretty technologically advanced in terms of how they scrape, how they submit violations. At least if it's in the state of Virginia, they're, especially during COVID, city workers are at home working remotely. It seems a little bit more efficient in terms of like faster.
It seems like they got time to do some fines. I'm just saying.
So I would definitely engage with your neighbors as well. That's gonna be a make or break thing. Be a good neighbor. As you're, even if you don't live in that Airbnb, make sure that you're kind of adding, and that makes your life so much easier.
Add value to the community. That's something that you guys have done a really good job with.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, Sean, Alex, everybody, thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting, and I hope to continue the conversation. I'd like to learn more about what you're doing as well, Sean.
Awesome. Definitely. Well, everybody that watched it, stuck out, and hung out, thank you so much for joining us. As usual, these things we're trying to get back live again, and we're looking really forward to, keeping back up to the breweries and getting with you guys and being in person, because that's what this shit's all about. Like, that's the fun part, right? So for everybody that's joined us, and there's multiple channels you're finding us on, check us out at Hopportunity. Hopportunity Investors is our Facebook group. We've got our YouTube channel. I think the ladies had started us a podcast. So we're trying to get on all the social media platforms and get as much information to you guys as possible. This group is strictly networking. We don't bring anybody in here to pitch anything, right? These guys come in, they talk, they share, and they grow, right? And that's what this group is for. And I really appreciate you doing that, Matt. So if the ladies could put up some information for Matt real quick, I want to run that by so everybody can do a screen cap on it. Maybe like throw on their phones, they can capture it real quick.
Yeah, well, what we're going to do is in the Hopportunity Facebook group. So if you haven't joined yet, make sure you join for this later. Later, either tomorrow or definitely by the end of the week, I'm going to post the slideshow, all of the info sheets that Matt said he was going to give us, and all of his contact information. So that'll be as soon as he gets all that stuff to us, definitely by the end of the week. So make sure to join that Hopportunity Facebook group so that you'll have access to that.
Awesome. There it is. Another good show. Thank you so much for everybody being here. I really appreciate it, ladies.
Before we stop, what's everyone drinking?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Matt, what do you got?
I actually, I'm lame. Seltzer water.
Ah.
You'll feel better in the morning.
Ashley, what do you got?
I had Sean made fun of me for it because I was pouring rosé from the bottle earlier before the meeting started.
Bottle.
But now it's
right. Alex showed up with a can last time, like a freaking keg. Vanessa, what do you have?
I have a kind of local to me, a Dallas blonde, Love Runs Deep.
Ooh,
Local Dallas brewery.
nice. Alex, what'd you have?
I had what I had in my fridge. I was trying to go by a brewery so bad on my way home, but it just wasn't enough time. So
Yeah.
I had a Guinness Blonde.
Nice.
Delicious.
Good stuff. We were down in Carolina a few weeks ago and grabbed some of these things called the Appalachia Sessions IPA. And those are pretty good. So, well, another good session, another good meeting, and another good show. Thank you so much for everybody joining us. I really appreciate for those that stuck around and watching the replay. Please leave us a comment and, come and join us at these meetings and come join us on our Facebook group and, share with us information that you have and things you're interested in, right? That's what this group is for. We try to go out and we build these things and we do a lot to bring these guys information to you and share as much as possible. And that's the fundamental of this group. You know what I mean? It's awesome. We get to learn so much from different guys doing different things. So again, thank you so much for everybody being here, everybody on the screen, all the people in the world. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Ashley, am I missing anything?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
Oh.